Hello and welcome to this instalment of Talking Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we are looking at the trim panel kit for the Triumph TR4A. TR4A was also known as the TR4 IRS, that's independent rear suspension, but it's basically the mid-60s, sort of 1966 era Triumph TR, not to be confused with its predecessor, the TR4. This is the later style TR4, so a TR4A. There are subtle differences in the kit, so just bear that in mind. What we've got here is a trim panel kit, or 1.5 trim panel kits in theory, which I'll explain. Trim panel kit is all the main cockpit cabin area panels that you need for kind of a decent overhaul restoration of your car. Now we sell it as a kit, but you can buy the parts individually, and when I say individually I mean in car sets. So the door panels, for example, are sold as a pair, i.e. one left hand, one right hand. Wheel arch covers, quarter panels, all sold in pairs. Rear bulkhead as a single unit effectively. So whatever you would need to retrim one car, we sell them in those units basically. But if you do buy it as a trim panel kit, i.e. all together, it does work out significantly cheaper than buying them all individually, so just bear that in mind. Now, like I said, this is about 1.5 kits worth because we happen to be doing 2 kits at the same time, but in different materials in the same colour. So all of these are midnight blue, which is an original Triumph colour that was used, generally speaking, on the earlier TRs and the TR4 and TR4A models. Then they switched to the shadow blue material, which was similar but slightly lighter. So this is midnight blue, and what we've got here is we've got a vinyl kit, which is the OEM factory specification, i.e. what the majority of the cars left in from the factory was vinyl, Ambla. But we've also got a leather kit here. We're one of the only companies in the world that can offer leather for these and still offer the exact same finish, i.e. the high frequency weld embossed patterns on them. A lot of people, even for the vinyl kits, don't have the tooling, so they use stitch lines on it, and they mislead you by saying that's for longevity, but it's not at all. It's because they don't have the high frequency welder or the tooling for them. So just bear that in mind. But certainly with leather kits, even those companies that can offer the pattern on vinyl kits, not many people offer it in leather. We do, and as you'll see, the finish is very, very similar between those kits. So if you do fancy an upgrade, go for it. We can supply it. We do lots and lots of leather kits. Right, let's start at the front. Now, before I go too much into detail, worth checking out the description below. There's going to be lots of information about this specific kit, as well as useful links to our website on where to buy these parts, either individually or as a trim panel kit. There's also going to be some links to some other videos which you may find useful for similar items that you may wish to consider at the same time for your TR4A. And there's going to be some links down the bottom to the materials and colours library. Do check that out because we do offer the widest range of colours out of anyone in the industry, as well as different elements and materials. For example, with our levers, we have 3 different levers that we can use and do offer for most colours, so just bear that in mind. We have grained, we have smooth, and we use the official Connolly Vomel if you so please. So just bear that in mind. And there's also going to be some links to the blog handbook area. It's always an ever-growing resource on our website where we post a lot of articles and information about the way we do things, the processes, the technology that we use. We're very, very proud of the way we do things, and it's what puts us apart in the industry, way ahead of everyone else. So it's worth checking that out. We are known worldwide for our quality and workmanship and have been for over 40 years now, and these articles go into some depth about how we do these things and why we are considered the best at what we do. So be sure to check that out. It's definitely worth doing, especially if you're new to the classic car restoration world. Apples are not apples. There are very few companies, if any, that can offer the levels of workmanship and quality and accuracy that we do, so be sure to check that out. Anyway, let's dive into this kit. So I'll start at the front of the car. It's roughly laid out. If I was stood at the back of the car on the rear deck looking forward, you've got the right hand of the car, left hand of the car. Obviously the right hand I've doubled up most of the panels there, the left hand's only a singular there. So you've got the doors, B-post, quarter panel wheel arches, wheel arch covers, and the bulkhead at the back there. So let's start at the front. So we've got the door panels. This is obviously the right hand door panel. The top one there is the leather kit, the bottom one the vinyl Ambla kit, both midnight blue. As you can see, pretty close match, not exact, but considering a completely different dyeing processes, very close indeed. Piped all the way round in white. White was original for the piping. We can offer different colours of piping, including same colour as the main trim, or white as original, or any other contrasting colour if you fancy. So just bear that in mind, and like I say, be sure to check out the materials and colours library. The door panels were quite unique on the TRs, as they had this embossed pattern on them, 4 lines at the top there, then it came down into this sort of map pocket here, which is elasticated on there, as you can see, flick, and same again on the leather ones there. So exactly the same finish. You can see the embossing works on the leather door panels as well there. So yeah, very, very similar. To look at the backing panel now, we use hardboard cut on our in-house CNC machine. It's a 2.55mm hardboard. Again, check out our blog handbook area for this, but very, very suitable for purpose. It's not 3mm. 3mm you can get anywhere. You can get it at your local DIY store. This is 2.55mm. Very hard to come by. We import it especially for these cars. And that is the reason why our panels fit nicely in the cars. Well, it's one of the many reasons. But certainly in terms of, there's always a bit of trickiness of fitting these panels. They're not particularly easy to do. We've been doing this a very long time, and any of you that know our business know that my father started out in TRs and has had and still owns TRs. So we are very well versed in these bits and bobs. Now the actual panel itself, you can see it's sort of got the fixing holes around the outside, pre-cut. It's also got a couple of pilot holes, pilot being the operative word. They are guides for the certain elements, and what we've done is we've combined and made them suitable for a few different versions. So although this kit as a whole is only suitable for the TR4A, it is very similar to the TR5 and TR250 models, and in fact some of the pieces are shared in theory on an individual basis, including these door panels. So just bear that in mind there. So yeah, you've got the pilot holes up here for, let's just grab this book. And there you are, nice midnight blue interior on the TR4A. So pilot holes up here, obviously for this door handle here. Then you had the pilot holes there, big and small, which was for the door releases there. The bigger one is for the TR5 and TR6 cars. The smaller one is the TR4 and 4A cars. And you had these pilot holes here, same principle again. The big one, larger one is for the bigger number in theory, so 5 and 6. The smaller one is for the 4 and 4A, and that is for the window winder, as you can see there. So just bear that in mind. Obviously the pocket there comes through with the slit, the elasticated version there. You have to chop rounds here. Sometimes worth chopping a bit more at excess back there with the fixings. Worth bearing in mind with the fixings, we supply a slightly bigger fixing than the original, and that's done by design. Some people, commonly they were supplied with black fixings. We use a green one, which is slightly bigger. Harder to initially fit them, but it means that the door will not pop off as you're driving along with the vibrations that are very common on these cars. So again, check out our blog, Handbook Post. We do a lot of these things by design. People sometimes in this industry take a shortcut and feel that things are done cost-saving elements of things. We do not do that. We do things through experience, feedback and knowledge. A lot of the things that we do on purpose for whatever reason. So just be sure to ask us if you're unsure on something like that. But yeah, they're the door panels. Like I say, been doing these a long time. We sell hundreds of these each year. We know they fit very well and by far are the best in the industry for these cars here, so bear that in mind. You then have the B-post strips, just vinyl or leather in this regard here, and they are for the door shutter basically. Not really going to see it in any of these pictures here, but it effectively goes down this B-post pillar here. The door kind of shuts on it, so it's just a strip of vinyl to cover up the bodywork. When the door's open you kind of see it before the Fairflex graphite extruder gets put on there. So you get those. For leather kits we do skive down that leather as standard, so that it gets a nice neat finish on there. Obviously vinyl's vinyl. You then have these B-post finisher panels, which are millboard panels trimmed all the way around apart from one edge. Again, you got the vinyl and the leather there. They're millboard. Now the TR4 and 4As were the same as each other, but then they did differ for the TR5 and TR6 models. Often referred to as B-post gusset panels. We refer to them as B-post finishers. And they're these down here. That's actually a TR6. You can see it's the material goes all the way around on the TR5, TR6 versions, whereas the TR4 4A, which is this one here, you can see it's actually exposed bodywork on the back there, so it's only the inside of the car just behind where that seat would be, that's actually trimmed on the TR4A, and the back part isn't, because that's up against the body, and then it's the exposed bodywork. Whereas the TR5.6, you can see there and there, it was trimmed all the way around, and it's a slightly different panel as a result of that. So just bear that in mind. But apart from that, they are very similar / the same. You then had the B-post quarter panels. So they sat just behind. Again, they're trimmed hardboard panels, trimmed all the way around apart from the bottom. That curves around onto the floor to get a nice seamless finish, and that meets up and tucks behind the rear bulkhead quarters over there. Sorry, rear bulkhead corners over there. It's piped up the sort of front edge here. Again, these are white, but obviously other colours available. And the TR4As did go round the corner and then disappeared in. Again, look at the way we finished that, nice and neat. You see a lot of other companies on the market, they just simply cut the piping and leave it as a raw edge, much like we do on the bottom edge there, because that's not seen. But they do it on the top edge, which is very, very visible. Whereas we go the extra mile, tuck it all around and create a nice finish. So again, just one of the little reasons why we are known for what we do with that regard. Has the HFRF embossed pattern on them as well. Again, the 4 lines and 2 lines, which did change for the TR6 models, majority of. Fixing holes, cutaways for hood frames and seatbelt retainers, etc. Again, these are made sort of versatile for a few different models, so you might find that some of the cutaways aren't relevant, which is why we float over them. So always check before installing, or ask the question if you're unsure. So the B-post quarter panels. You then got the wheel arch covers, again vinyl and leather, piped again. Obviously that goes to the floor there. Yeah, they're these here sewn bits, and you do get some foam padding for underneath those. Surprisingly tricky to fit those, considering they're such a simplistic shape, etc. So be sure to ask questions if you're unsure. Happy to help. And finally, you get the rear bulkhead panel. Rear bulkhead panel, again, vinyl at the top, leather here. If I turn this over, hardboard again, has pilot holes around the outside for the fixings. They use screws and washers in those, to self-tapping screws, etc., to go into the bodywork of the car, trimmed all the way around. Hardboard again, 2.55mm again, which is crucial. Look at that bend, lovely bend, but it keeps the rigidity of the panel, which is crucial for these cars because they did have a subtle bend on it. So again, be sure to check out our article on hardboard. We get a very specific one made. It's not your standard hardboard from a DIY store. It's thinner, it's oil tempered, it's suitable for marine. In fact, it's designed and made for marine and automotive industry, and has been for over 100 years. So it's not just your average material that we buy in. It is well suited to the purpose. We don't just go and buy random bits and bobs like a lot of companies out there do. It's worth noting as well, the corners, the depth of this here. This is the standard size of the TR4A and TR5 and TR6s. The TR4s were narrower. I have got a separate video for that, so do check that out, because we know that there have been cars that have been repaired over the years, and the tub of them have been replaced incorrectly at the back because it's such a subtle differences, all related to the top of the wheel arch and how curved or flat that is. So we've seen a few instances in recent years where people are going, oh, your bulkhead's too big. They send me photos of, oh no, your tub must be different at the back. No biggie, you can change your TR4A into an earlier TR4. You can't do it the other way around, so we always do ask people to check that area. But again, it just shows the level of detail and understanding that we have for these cars compared to a lot of even professional restorers out there that just assume that the manufacturer's got it wrong. So just bear that in mind. Like I say, we make and sell hundreds of these kits each year, so we really do know what we're doing. There you go, you can see. In fact, not particularly obvious, but that actually is a TR4, and you can see how narrow it is. It does affect the corner of this as well. This one's narrow as well because that end meets up effectively to there, gets tucked round, etc. So you can see they both are the same size. So if you had the earlier TR4, both bits would be smaller on that, and like I say, it's because of the wheel arch there. But that's effectively how they meet up there. During the trimming process, you'll also want ideally to get that piping to sit just where those two bits kiss together, and you can strip out a bit of that piping and tuck it in behind it. Creates a lovely seamless finish. So it's all these little tips that we're more than happy to share with people, or professional trimmers if they do need the help, because there's lots of different ways of trimming these things. Just because you have a John Skinner kit doesn't mean it's going to turn out perfectly. You still need to do some work yourself at your end, but we are more than happy to oblige, and if you take your time and follow our instructions, you will end up with a beautiful restoration, so bear that in mind. Yeah, I think I've covered my bases there. Thanks for tuning in. Please remember to read the description below for more info, and of course please share with other classic car enthusiasts and press like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.